Are you new to Smartsheet and trying to figure out some best practices? Well, today I want to talk about a Smartsheet function that I use pretty much every day, and it's the COUNTIFS function. Hey everybody, welcome to the Practical Place. My name is Ryan Holguin, and today I want to talk about how to use the COUNTIFS function in Smartsheet. I want to walk through an example data set of what this might look like for you to use this in your setting. Let's jump on over to my screen and get started. As you can see, I have a data set for online gaming information, and this has nearly 20,000 rows of data. If you can see this, it goes all the way down here. This is a large data set that we have to work within. I'm going to show you how to create a metric sheet using the data from this sheet and only the COUNTIFS function. I'm gonna really break down how to use the COUNTIFS function to pull that data that you wanna get out. We're gonna talk about how many different male gamers versus female gamers that we have. We're gonna talk about the different locations of each gamer. We're gonna talk about the different game genres that each person plays. And then lastly, I wanna add a little bit of an extra curveball and figure out how many males do in-game purchases versus females. Those are just the 4 different data points or metrics we're gonna pull using the COUNTIFS function. I'm gonna control tab over here. And what we're gonna do here is we have a blank sheet and we're gonna start to fill in some data. I'm gonna show you how to categorize this data, or the way that I categorize it, that it's easy for me to turn it into a chart in a dashboard. The first thing we wanna do is gender. I'm gonna just type in gender here, and I'm gonna do male and female. I'm gonna nest these guys under here just so they live under the gender columns. What we're gonna do, we're gonna go to the column over, and I'm actually gonna rename this second column, because in a dashboard, when this pulls up, it's gonna label it, and you don't want it to say column 2, or at least I don't. I try to change the column name to make it something that's pretty universally relevant to any metric that's gonna be in that column there. I just say count. It's pretty universal. It's gonna apply to nearly every metric that I show in a chart. So we wanna count the number of male gamers. To start our function, we always wanna start off with an equal, and then we're gonna type in COUNTIFS. You can go down here and find it and click enter. A lot of times I just tab over whenever I get to it. All right, we want to find the range, the column range, or whichever range to search for this data from. I'm going to reference from another sheet here, and I'm going to look at the online gaming data sheet here. We wait for this to load. All right, as you can see, it's pulled that data sheet that I showed you initially, and we want to pull this from the gender column, right? I'm going to select the column header. It's going to select everything in this column, no matter what it's called, and we want to make sure to name the sheet reference for this data point just whenever we're using it anywhere else in our metric sheet, that we know what we're referring to. I'm just gonna call this gender. And then my face is in the way, but over here I can click OK. See if I can move myself over. There we go. I'm gonna say insert reference. All right, so it's gonna count that gender column, and I want to enter a comma. Now I wanna tell it, well, what am I looking for? And the way I organize it, I can just click on this cell here, because it's gonna look for the text in this cell. So I'm gonna select enter. It's calculating, because there's, like I said, almost 20,000 different rows of data here. As you can see, 11.9 thousand male. And a quick way to copy it over is you're just gonna drag and drop. That's one data set that we wanted to look at, right, is gender. Here's an extra tip that I didn't plan on talking about, but since these are child rows under this row here, they're nested under here. Another data point I like to do just for myself is I like to do some children here, equal sum, and then children, and then enter, and then it'll just calculate the total number of whatever you have underneath it here. Yeah, a total of 19,948 total gamers, with 11,922 of those being male. So that's the gender category that we wanted to get data for. I've got that. Now we want to do location. Let's do location here, and I actually need a tab over to figure out which locations I have. What I like to do, I'm just going to copy it from a drop-down menu here, and I'm going to tab back over. I'm going to enter those locations here, nest them under, and we're going to start over again. COUNTIFS, going to find our range. It's going to pull up the last sheet you referenced. Typically, if you're doing the same function in the same sheet without refreshing or moving over to another sheet here. So now I want to measure the location. I'm going to select location here, and again, I'm going to rename this. It's location, insert reference, comma here. It's going to calculate. I'm going to do this all across the board here. Let's get out of here. As you can see, I've copied it all over. And if you notice, when I drag and drop my formula, it's a relative reference. So this primary column is going to be relative to the row that it's in. See, if I click over everyone, it's going to reference each one just like it is up here. Now I've got my location, I've got my gender data that I want. I can go ahead and just copy this formula and paste it here. And this is a quick kind of pulse check. You can see here there's 19,948 total players. If you want to make sure that your data is accurate and it's pulling the same amount of data, you're using the same number of data, then you can look here, the same sum. The sum here is the same as the sum here. We know that there's no duplicates. We know that there's nothing missing because these are the same total numbers here, the total sum here. We've got gender, we've got location. Now we want to do the genre. I'm going to just come down here and say genre. And then again, I'm going to tab over, copy this drop down list, tab back over, copy it, and then do the COUNTIFS function again. Let's find my genre column, wait for it to load. Select the column header. I'm going to just call this genre, insert, comma, and I want to search this one. I'm going to go ahead and copy it here. What am I doing? Sum. All right, as you can see, all three of these are the same. We're counting from the same data. There's no overlap, there's no duplicates or anything like that. We're getting everything we want. I'm gonna make sure to save my sheet. That's a good practice. Make sure you always save your sheet. Typically after every step is when I save my sheet, but that's just my personal preference. All right, the last one is how many different males make in-game purchases versus females. This is a little bit of a kind of a two-layered data set that we're gonna have to search here. I'm gonna say in-game purchases here, and then I wanna do male, female. All right, so let's nest this. All right, save it. All right, there's gonna be kind of two different criteria that I'm looking for here. I'm gonna start off just like every other one, COUNTIFS. The first range I'm gonna look for is gonna be the gender column, and I'm gonna search specifically for male. Let's wait for this to load. I'm gonna go gender. And if you notice here, I'm referencing a column or a range I've already referenced, but automatically recognize that, and it's gonna rename my reference already. Because if I go to age here, it's gonna change it back, but if I go to gender, it's gonna do the saved reference name that I selected earlier. Enter here, comma, we're gonna find the number of males, and then we are going to comma here. Now we're gonna look for a second range of data, and that is going to be a checkbox column of in-game purchases. If it's checked, that means that this user made an in-game purchase. I'm gonna go here, and I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna abbreviate, I'm gonna say IGP, in-game preferences, or in-game purchases, because in-game purchases is kind of a long text, and I don't want that making my function syntax super long. So yeah, I'm gonna go with IGP. And what I wanna do is, because it's a checkbox, Smartsheet recognizes a checkbox as the number 1, numerical value 1. I believe the way I'm gonna do this is I'm gonna do an '1, apostrophe, and enter. Here we go. So I'm gonna drag this down here. It looks like males tend to make more in-game purchases than females. Now, I'm gonna just add this same some children here. Save this. Another tip or another pulse check that I like to do sometimes in my source sheets or in my roll-up sheets that I'm pulling data from is I like to add filters into those sheets to kind of cross-check to make sure my numbers are right. This is just what I figured out I like to do to make sure that it's right and the calculation is right, or not that the calculation's incorrect, but that my formula might be incorrect. So 2,419 is the total number of males in-game purchases apparently. Let's go back to the online gaming data sheet, and I'm gonna create a filter here, and I'm just gonna say male in-game purchase. What I wanna do is I wanna find the total number of male that the in-game purchases is checked. Let's see this number, 2,419. Let's go back over. Let's go back over. 2,419. I'm gonna do the same thing with the female just to double check, but I'm gonna assume it's gonna be correct. We're looking for 1,550. So let's do this where I'm going to copy this filter, female. Let's see what Smartsheet says. Yes, 1,550 total. So it looks like the formula that I entered or the function that I entered is correct, the way it's calculating. So I'm gonna tab over here. I have all the data sets that I want. Now what I'm gonna do is I'm going to create a dashboard just from this metric sheet, a quick dashboard that has 4 different charts to kind of display all this data to my manager that wants to know about all this stuff. Let me go ahead and create a dashboard, create new dashboard. I'm gonna just say gaming metrics. We're opening up our dashboard here, and we're just gonna do 4 simple chart widgets in this dashboard just to show you what this ends up looking like, to give you an idea of maybe how you wanna use this in your setting. We're gonna go to the chart widget here, we're gonna get our data, and the way I organized it in the metric sheet is gonna start to make sense now. So yeah, we're gonna pull the number of male and female. I'm in the way here. Okay, as you can see here, I'm just gonna go with the simple pie chart. I'm gonna say gamers by gender, center this, make the background black, and the text white. You can do this obviously however you want to, but I'm just doing this how I want to. And then I want this to be not a percentage, but I wanna show the whole amount. And then if I wanna see the percentage, you can just hover over it. And the last thing is I want my legend to be on the bottom. Okay, I have that data point. I'm gonna copy this, paste it over because I want the same type of chart. And then I wanna select location. And then we're just gonna call this gamers by location, pie chart here, amount, kind of see who's. And then I'm gonna copy this one, paste it down here by genre, gamers by genre here. And it just always goes back to, sometimes it'll change the chart on you, as you can see here. So I wanna make sure I'm consistent with what I'm pulling here. Looks like it's pretty even across the board as far as the type of genre that folks like to play. And then the last one I wanna do is, well, I'm gonna call this gender in-game purchases by gender. All right, so let me save this. You can obviously organize your dashboard however you would like to see, or however your leaders or directors likes to see their data. But this is just a simple idea of what that metric sheet would end up looking like depending on how you organize it. That's how I like to organize mine. I can pull it in a very nice and clean way. I got all the data that I wanted, and all I had to use was the COUNTIFS function. Well guys, I hope that helped you not only understand how to use the COUNTIFS function, but helped you think of ways that you can organize your data to figure out where your current baselines are at. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to The Practical Place. Also, let me know in the comments below what you learned or what you would like to learn. That's gonna do it for today's video. Again, I'm Ryan Holguin with The Practical Place. We will see you next time.